Hey everyone, I hope you all are safe and doing good. So, till now we have discussed all the control flow statements in Java. We are left with one jump statement, that is return. So, that statement we will see in this video, because in this video we are going to discuss what are methods in Java. As the name suggests, I have written methods, building block for efficient code. So, you are not getting the meaning of this line maybe right now. What is this meaning of this line? Building block for efficient code. But I'm damn sure after completion of this lecture, you will automatically get why I have written after method this line, that these are the building blocks for writing an efficient code. Why? So let's discuss first what are methods, the syntax of method, declaration, definition, how to call methods, and everything, and why basically we need methods. That thing is important. Why methods? Okay, so that thing we will see in this video. Don't worry with practical examples. See, I, I I'm damn sure you have seen that thing because in the previous coding exercises when we were discussing, then at some point of time we have discussed this thing. We have used this thing like to lowercase something like this, like to like dot to lowercase. This is a method. It's a method, right? Or this like simple thing. We are using this system dot out dot println or system.out.print. So what is that print? It's a method. What is println? It's a method. What is main? Public static void main. Main is what? It's also a method, right? So these like println, print, these are predefined methods. System dot, if you write something like this, system dot out dot println. So we know the meaning of this line is whatever you write here, like in double quotes, exactly that thing will be printed. Means basically we use this thing for output. Println is a method in print screen class. We have already discussed about system, what is out, what is println, right? So the meaning of the definition of this println has already been defined somewhere in those libraries, right? By the makers of Java, designers of Java. And when we use this in a program, then what in which package, in which library the meaning or the definition of this method is in java.lang package, right? And I have told you this java.lang package, it's like being automatically imported in your program. You don't need to explicitly write import java.lang.star, right? It's automatically there by the compiler, right? So now the compiler know or the JVM know the meaning of this line because of that definition, because it's already predefined. It's like predefined. It's already defined. Main method is also having a like that fixed signature, public, static, void, main, and then string args. That fixed signature only then that JVM will identify that yeah, this is the entry point for this program. Okay. These methods, these predefined few methods are there, like we use to find square root of a number. There is a that class math in which this method is already defined and the name is sqrt. This, so how to use this? You just write math dot square root, like name of the class dot the method name and whatever number, like 5 or 25 square root you want to find, so it will give you the square root. You don't need to go into that much detail that how to find out square root. You don't need to write down the logic because the logic has already been written by someone. You just use that. So these already defined methods or these libraries or these APIs making the programmer's life or the developer's life easy, because there is so much code already written. You just have to use that. So there are so many predefined methods. These are a few examples of them. When we will discuss string, then we'll see string methods. This is to use, this is to find out the length of the string. This is to find out like the substring in this, to lowercase to uppercase. These are array methods. When we will discuss arrays, then we will see all the array methods. Don't worry. These are some math methods like square root, power, maximum, minimum. You want to find out. ABS means absolute number, absolute value of a number you want to find out. Then you can use this thing. Some object methods are there. This equals we have already used when we were comparing two string objects. Then rather than using those equality operator, we use, I hope you remember that thing, equals operator. So when you want to compare two objects, then we use equals operator. So these also we'll see when we'll see those object oriented programming features. Don't worry. Okay, so these are some predefined methods. I hope now you have the idea. Two types of methods are there. One is predefined. Those are already defined. You just use those methods. And few examples are these, as well as print, println. These are also predefined methods. Okay. Now, we can also define our own methods. Yes, that's correct. See, the beauty of these methods are they have already written somewhere in some class, in some package. Methods are already written and you are just using it. How to use? You just calling these methods by the name of that method. That's it. Okay, somewhere writing the class name, then dot, and then the name of that method using dot operator. But the main is like you are just calling the name. Like if someone want to call me, so they call like Jenny. So I'll respond like, yeah. So same, this method is somewhere in those libraries, in those packages, right? In those classes. And you just call this method by calling their name, like square root, just writing their name and passing the number. That's it, right? So advantage is what? You don't need to write this method again in your program. If you want to find out square root of a number, you don't need to write down the logic to find out the square root because someone has already written that logic. So I just use that, right? Like if you want some vegetable or if you want to buy fruit, so it's not like that you will like going to grow these vegetables or fruits in your home, at your home. No, someone has already done that thing for you. Just go to supermarket and buy. Because if you do that thing from scratch, then definitely it will need few months to get you those fruits or vegetables. Obviously that will take time, right? So those farmers or those persons are making our life easy. We can directly go to supermarket and buy fruits, vegetables, or that grains or anything else. Okay. Same thing also. You can relate this kind of thing here also. So someone has already written these methods, already defined those methods for us, and we just use that. We just call that. So same, we can also define our own method. Okay. Now it's not like that. If there in supermarket there are vegetables or there are fruits, then you cannot grow your own vegetables or your own fruits. You can definitely grow. You can just grow those plants, or you can have that kind of like farming kind of thing, and you can also grow at your home if you have time. Okay. Or if you want some modification, if you want that hybrid type of fruit, so you do some experiment and you just grow. There are so many news nowadays, like on the roof, on the terrace, they are growing something, some vegetables or some fruits, and they are doing that business. Okay, rather than in those fields and all, they just need a roof. That's it. Okay, so like this we can also define our own methods, and we can also use those method whenever you want, whenever we want to use. You just have to call these methods. Okay, now I'll show you. Now predefined methods are clear. Now what are Java methods? What are basically user defined methods? So these are simply block of codes that we can reuse and that are going to perform some specific task, and these methods is going to execute when you call them. The meaning or the definition will be clear to you when we will see a few examples or practically this thing. Don't worry, you just focus right now on this definition. That's it. You don't need to worry about whatever I have written, modularity, organization, or encapsulation. You just focus on this thing, because these are some, you can say, advantages of using methods, and these three things will be clear to you at the end of this lecture. Don't worry, right? So now we are going to focus on only on the definition of the methods. Okay, now to somewhat I guess it's clear to you what are methods, because we have already used few methods like display methods or this kind of thing in our previous examples. Okay, so let me just give you one example, practical example. See, let's take a simple example. Suppose I want to find out addition of two number. So what you will write in main? Let's take two number. I have written here only. I have initialized these number here only, but you can just use a scanner object and take input from user, like enter number one, enter number two, and something like this. Then just sum is equal to a plus b and print sum. Okay, fine. This is the simplest example I'm taking. Now, suppose one more thing is, now I will do some. I'm going to do some like code here. My program is lengthy. Some another code is there. I'm performing something else. Then again, I want to find out sum of maybe 10 or 5 for another two number. So what you will do? You just write down these statements here also. Or maybe you do something like this. I'll do something like a is equal to 10, b is equal to 15. Then again, like sum is equal to a plus b. And then again, SOP sum. Fine. Maybe in the same program, now I say that I want to find out sum of sum this 10 times different numbers using different numbers. So one way is what? 10 times you have to write down this code, because this is the code to find out sum, basic code, right? So you have to write down these three lines 10 times. Definitely it's not a good idea. If I say 50 times, then you will write this thing 50 times. Okay. Now maybe you will say that, ma'am, this is repetition. You should just write down this thing in a loop. Loop 1 to 100, and just in the loop, just ask, enter one number, enter number second, and sum, and just print. Okay, that is one way. Fine. There is no use of methods. We are not using any method. We are using simply a main method. But one more example is, one is I'm calculating sum. Another is, suppose another thing is I want to find out average also. Average of these numbers. So what you will do? Like whatever the sum, we divide by 2, something like this. Right? Average here also, same you will write here, same you will write here, something like this. So means you are writing this code again and again, and this is one simple example. Okay. Now one thing we can do, can we just separate out this thing, and whenever you want to find out the sum of two numbers, you just call that thing rather than writing these lines again and again. Can we do this thing? This thing we can do with the help of methods. What we can do is, we just separate out the code to find out sum in a method. Suppose there is a method sum. I'll show you the syntax also. And here in this block, I have written all these lines, 1, 2, 3 lines. Right? Take the input from user, just do sum and print sum. Now in my program, whenever you want to calculate sum or wherever you want to calculate sum, I just call this method. How to call? You just call the name of this method. Suppose name of this method I have given is sum, like my name is Jenny. So if you want to call me, you will call like Jenny. Right? So suppose the name of this is sum. So I will call simply, rather than writing this, simply sum. That's it. Like sum. How to call, I'll show you. Here again, you can call simply sum. That's it. So rather than writing these three lines again and again, you just write down one line wherever you want to call, wherever you want to calculate the sum. This is just a simple example, right? Because we are, I'm just discussing from the basic. But methods we will see in a more, there are so many complex things we do when we are working on projects. Okay, there, these will be very helpful. So you just code that thing that, so this thing, this block is performing a specific task. What task? Calculating the sum of two numbers, right? So that's why we have written like methods are simply code blocks performing some specific task, right? And we can reuse this, because we are using, whenever you want to calculate sum, you are just reusing this code. I'm just calling. You can call this 100 times or 10 times or 50 times in your program. And that calling would be replaced or by this, like this is called calling. So control will go here. wherever the definition of this function is, and perform some task and maybe return some value and back to here only where we are calling. So this is basic working of method that I'll show you also. Okay. So I hope now a little bit need of method is clear to you. Reusing of the code. So it is basically going to reduce the redundancy. You don't need to write down the same code again. This is duplicate code. We are writing again and again. So it is going to reduce the redundancy. It will increase the code reusability. We are reusing this code in our program. Or if there is a separate method also, average method, and there also we can call this method. So one method we can call in another method also. That is fine. Right? So let me show you now the syntax of writing method. So this is simple syntax of writing a method. First we write access specifier. Access specifier means like public, private, protected, but that thing we will see when we'll discuss object oriented programming. So let's just leave this thing for now. Access specifier, right? This is going to tell the visibility of this method, whether it's a public method or it's a private method or it's a protected method. The meaning of all the three specifier we will discuss later. So right now you just leave this. Next, you write return type of the method. Return type means what type of value this method is going to return. So it may be void. Return type may be void. Void means it is going to return nothing. This method we have seen many times. So you just want to display something on the screen like void display. There we simply write system.out.println hi or hello world. So this function is going to return nothing. It is just printing something, some message on the screen. So we take return type of that method void. Otherwise, return type can be anything like int, float, double, boolean, primitive types, as well as it can return string, arrays, more than one numbers also like list or arrays or strings or any other object reference. But those things we will see when we are discussing strings, arrays and classes, right? But for now, we will see this example like how this method is going to return something with void as well as with the primitive types. That's it. But it can return something else also other than void and primitive types. That thing I have told you. Next, simply the method name. It should be a valid identifier and we should follow that camel case convention to write down a method name, lower camel case. So first letter is small, then for every next word, the first letter would be capital. Like calculate area. So C is small, A is capital, something like this. Next, and there should be nothing between return type and method name. Return type, after that, just method name you have to write. Then parameter list. This is optional. This is mandatory. This is mandatory. This thing we will see later, access specifier. Okay, this is also not strictly necessary that you have to specify access specifier. This is optional. Parameters are also optional, right? If you want to give, it's okay. If you don't want to give, then also it's okay. That also I'll show you. But if you want to give the parameter, then how to write? We first write type of the parameter, then parameter name, then comma, then again type of the parameter, then name of the parameter, and something like this. There can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parameter, as many parameters as you want, right? But first, the data type like int, then name of the parameter like a, something like this. If I give you this example, if I give you this example like a void sum int a comma int b. So here void is the return type, sum is the method name, int is the type, a is the name of first parameter, int is the type of the second parameter, and the name of the second parameter is b. So it is only accepting two parameter. There can be many parameters also. And these are known as parameters or formal parameters. Right? Parameters, or we also call these as formal parameters. Okay, fine. Next comes to within this block we have the body of the function, body of the method. In other languages, we call these functions, but in Java, we write everything in classes. So these are binded with the classes. That's why we call this as methods. These are known as methods rather than functions. These are not free floating functions. Okay, these are methods. Code block. Now, in this, you just do some like how to find out sum, you just do that thing. Okay, like maybe we are passing int a and b, so you can just take like int sum, or we can take a variable name like int c is equal to a plus b. And return type is void, means it will not, I have told the compiler that it will not return anything. So we cannot use this return statement here. Yeah, we can use, but we can simply write return, return, that's it. Nothing else after return. Means it is not going to return any value. And this is optional. If the type is void, this return is optional. If you want to write, you can write. If you want to skip, you can skip. And here we simply print system.out.println C. So if you write this, whenever control enter here, return means it is going to return the control to the caller, to the caller method. Means wherever you are calling this sum, in main, suppose somewhere we are calling this, and how to call, the syntax is the name of this method, that is sum, and how many parameters you are passing? Two parameters. The type is int. So you have to take care of this thing like 2 and 3 I'm passing, and semicolon. That's it. So this is caller. Okay. Means we are writing this as main. So this is what we are calling this. So return means the control will be back here at the caller method. If you don't write this return, that is also fine. After executing the last statement, it see that okay, this is closing bracket. It means simply return here. That's it. But now few things you need to take care. If in return, if you return here like return C, I want to return C, so it will give you error, because this void means it is not going to return any value, but you are returning some value, so it will give error, compilation error. So these things should be compatible, right? Now, after the code block, we just return statement. One is this, it will not return anything. Another is this, if it will return some value, then we just simply write the return keyword and whatever value this function will return. So let's take one example. Rather than this void, I'm just writing here int and sum, right? It means return type is int. So I'm telling that this method is going to return int value. Okay. Now here we simply write return C, because C is also int type. So this thing should be compatible. If you write here, like here we have suppose float, and C is now float, this is int, so it will give you error, because it is returning int value, but you are returning float, that is greater value, so it will give error. But if here is float and here you return int, then automatically it will promote that thing, because you are returning a small value and it is accepting a like it is accepting like it should return a greater value, so it will automatically promote that thing. This thing we will see with the help of an example, don't worry. Now I guess this is clear to you. Now see one more thing. Here we are calling this method. Okay, so calling is simply syntax is, if you want to write then method name, then in bracket argument list. So these are known as arguments, or these are known as actual parameters. Whatever you pass at the time of calling, these are known as either arguments or actual parameters. These are known as simply parameters or formal parameters. Sometimes they ask in the interview what is difference between actual parameter and formal parameters. So students get confused. So at the time of definition, whatever you write here in the parameter, those are formal parameters. When you are going to, at the time of calling of that function, whatever you pass, the value, these are known as actual parameters or arguments. So basically, we can say these are arguments, these are parameters. I hope the difference is clear, right? But now see, if you pass here only 3, it will give error because at the time of calling, you are passing only one argument. But see the definition, it is expecting that you will pass two parameters. You will pass two arguments at this time, but you are passing only one, so it will give you error. So these small things you need to take care. If you pass here 2.3, this is double and it is int like 2.3 comma 3.3. This will also give error because you are passing double and it is going to accept only int. It will give you error, but you can typecast this. But here, if here is float and you are passing here int 2 and 3, at this time it will not give error because you are passing int and the memory has been allocated for float, that is like or double, you can say, let's take double or 8 bytes. This is large, so it will automatically promote this thing. Right now it will not give any error. Okay, so you have to think, you have to take care of these things: the compatibility between the parameter list and the argument list, the return type of that method, as well as what actual value you are returning this thing. This also you need to take care. Okay, now let me show you this thing first of all with the help of practically with example, then we'll discuss some more thing about return statement and methods as well. So in the first project, let's create the name of, let's create a new Java class, that is method demo, psvm. This is shortcut for public static void main. This is also a method. So this public is an access specifier, this is also a specifier, that is static, this is return type, this is name of the method, and this is the parameter list. It is going to accept a string array. The name of that array is args. These are command line arguments. We'll see command line arguments also. But this is the syntax. If you change something here, then JVM is not going to recognize it. If you write down here main, then this is a valid method, but JVM will not run this. Like if I simply print here, hi, and if you want to run this, let's just select the current file and see, this run button is not highlighted. It's not runnable because there is no main. Here also, if you right click, there is no run because it's not main. There is no main. So simple, the syntax is small mains. Here you saw the green. Here also now the green. Now you can run this and you will print hi. So this is also a method, right? But now we'll see a user defined method. So now what I have told you is, suppose if you want to find out, let's take sum of two numbers and we'll take input from the user. So we have taken input from user, the two numbers. Now let's find out like int sum is equal to num1 plus num2. And we can simply print sum. So if you run this, okay, nothing, it's not any fancy type of thing. It will just ask for two numbers and it will print the sum. Fine. Now same I want to perform sum like for different numbers 10 times. So what you can do is you just again write down the same thing 10 times. Like suppose just copy paste this thing here and we'll just write down this 3 times only, not 10 times, but let's just discuss it for 3 times. Fine. Now if I run this, so obviously we will not create the scanner object again and again. So let's just remove this line. We will just ask for this and we will not redefine this sum again and again. We just take a variable here sum, right? And here we are simply doing sum is equal to num1 plus num2. Fine. Let's run this. Now first time it will ask enter first number 1, 2. Again it will ask, then sum. Again it will ask, again sum. So 3 times. Okay. 10 times, 50 times if you want to find out the sum. It's not like that we will repeat these lines, these 4 or 5 or 6 lines 50 times. This is redundancy of the code. They are just we are writing the same lines again and again. Duplicacy of the code. It will unnecessarily what we will do? Just increase the line of code or the length of the program. So what we can do is we can simply write down this logic in a method in some block of code, and we can use that. Okay. Now what we can do is in this class, at this class level, within the class, see, I have told you also in a class, we have see, when we were having a brief intro of those classes and object, then also I have told you, like, if class is just a blueprint, so in a class, like a class, it's like person, right? So there it will have something like a person or employee. So it will have in a company, suppose it will have so EMPID or the name. These are some, you can say, those what this person have and what this person can do or does, that we write something like that. This person can teach something like this, or make quiz or something, quiz, or like maybe they can sing. So this is the behavior, right? So these are what basically state of this. These are going to show the state of the object. So if the employee or the person is like different, we can create object of this class, many object like Jenny, Rahul, Jia, Payal, like 4 object or 4 instances. So Jenny also will have employee ID and name. Then this will have Jenny can also like can teach, make quiz, and can sing something like this, right? So these are behavior, and this is the state. So these are basically, you can say, attributes of this class. These are methods of the class. So behavior of the class we will show with the help of methods, right? In a class, basically we have some state of the object, like those state would be represented by the attributes. These are not simple variables, these are attributes. And these are methods. The behavior would be represented by the methods. So we are having some methods. Okay. So in a class, in the more detailed manner, we will see when we're discussing object oriented programming concept, classes, objects, and all. But this is just a simple example. And this thing we have already discussed just in a brief. Okay. So now these are methods in a class. So now let's just define some methods in the class. So now you know the syntax. We simply write here void no return type, name of the method. Suppose I am taking addition. And here I'm not passing anything. So this parameter I told you, parameter list can be empty. It's optional. If you don't want to pass anything, it's okay. You can just leave it like that. Right? Here, now we will just do one thing. So we just simply take this code of finding the sum, and we just write down in a method, that is the name of the method is addition, or any method you can take, sum or x, even xyz also you can take, but we should take a descriptive name. By looking at that name only, anyone can get to know that okay, this method is to find out the addition of maybe few numbers, because we are not passing the parameter. If you pass the parameter here like 2 parameter, so by looking at this line only, he or she will get to know that okay, this will add 2 numbers, but here we are not passing anything. So you can just simply delete everything here in the main. So this is what the method definition. Now one thing you need to take care, because this is a class level method, and if you want to access this method directly here, if you call this, what syntax I have told you, just name of the method like addition, and if there's any argument to pass, you can pass, but it is not accepting any parameter, so no argument you will pass, and this semicolon. But see now the error. What is this error? Hover the cursor here and you will get the error. Non-static method cannot be referenced from a static context, because this is a non-static method. So you have to create the object of this class, then only you can access. But I don't want to go into that much thing right now. So just make it static. For a simplicity purpose, we just make it static. So now static method is class level method, and these are not particularly related or associated with the object of this class. These are class level. So we can directly access these methods. Or second way is you can access these method with simply the class name, because these are class level methods. So either this or this you can use. We can just comment out this or you can use this thing, right? So let's just comment out this and we'll simply use addition. That's it, right? So if I run this is what? Calling of the method. This is calling the method addition. And this is basically, we can say, definition of method addition, right? Because we are defining what this method will do. We are defining that thing. It will take two number, it will just do addition of two number, and it will simply print. It is not going to return anything. So if you run this, then what output you should get? Same whatever we have seen in the previous case, 1, 2, and sum is 3. Now 10 times if you want to do addition, so simply you have to do one thing, just copy paste this thing, right? Suppose 3 times. So 3 times we have called this function. Every time, let's run this and let me show you how the output you will get. So again it will ask, again it will ask, 3 times it is going to run, and that's it. So we don't want to repeat the same code again and again. Just have to call this method. Or even calling also we can do in loop, like for 1 to 100, and just call this addition 100 times. That's it. So this is beauty of using methods. So we can do simply in one thing. Like methods will take some input, process the input, and return some value or give you the output. Okay, fine. But this method is of the type no return type and no parameters. Because there is no return type, that is void. There is no parameter. There are 4 categories basically. So the one is this category. Methods with no return type and without return type and without parameters, without arguments. And if you simply want to return, write down return here, that also you can do. But the thing is, it will give you some error, like return is unnecessary as the last statement in a void method. So let's run this and see. Same output you will get. It will ask those, it will run 3 times and it will ask you for 3 times, and that's it. But it is unnecessary because it is not returning anything because the type is void. So don't need to write down return here. When you will simply write this return and return some value. So if I want that this should return int, let's change it. It should return something. So rather than printing here, let's comment out this. We can just do one thing. Let's write down return statement, and what it should return? Sum. That's it. So let's call this only one time. So return type is int. It is returning sum. So let's run this and it will, no error would be there, and it will give you the correct output. So the number is suppose 1 and 2. So, okay, it is, see why now it is not printing anything. See, now this function will return an int value. So return value of the method is never used. We are just calling this, but we are not printing that value or we are not storing that value somewhere in any variable. That's why it is not giving you any output. So either you can do this thing, you can simply write here like int a variable, any variable like c is equal to, or result is equal to addition. Now whatever this addition will return, that value we are going to store in the variable result, and we can simply print this variable result. This time it will print. So the this kind of mistake also, generally beginners do. C15, that means we are, it is taking input but it is not printing anything. It's because you are not printing that value, you are not storing that value somewhere. If you don't want to store in a different variable, you can simply call this in system.out.println, that will also work. Simply call this here. So we can use the return value of the method in an expression as well. This is simply an expression. Here I can write something like this, like the sum is, and whatever this will return, we can simply add that here. So that is also fine. So let's run this and it will give you the correct output. See, sum is 3. So whatever this method will return, either you can store, assign that value in a variable, or we can just simply use that in an expression also directly here like this, rather than storing in any variable. Okay, so this method comes in which category? With return type without arguments. So we are not passing any argument. So this is basically with return type and without arguments. Let me just write down here, right? Why static? That also you know that, like, without if you want to call that method without creating the object, that's why we are using here a static word. Now next thing, let's discuss here which with return type and with arguments, that thing. So let's just simple copy paste this thing only here in this category, and we just comment out this. So let's comment out, use that multi-line comment from here to here, asterisk and this. Now this method is with return type and with arguments also. Now with return type, okay, fine, but where are the arguments? So I want, while calling this one, user should pass the argument like 2 comma 3. I am passing something like this. So there should be some parameter also. So let's take int a comma int b. So you don't need to take here like this kind of thing here, because we are not taking input from the user, so that is also not necessary here. Now we take a like int sum is equal to not num1 and num2, because we are taking here the variable name a and b, right? See, a and b, these are local variables for this method, so we can use here a and b and just return sum. Local variable sum is redundant. Okay, fine, you can ignore this. Now return sum, and here we are calling this something like this. So let's run this and it will print the addition of 2 and 3. Sum is 5. So see, the number of lines has been reduced to this only because we have used parameters. Now, if you don't want to pass the static value like the fixed value 2 or 3, if you want to ask from the user, so here only you can write down that thing. Here only we can just use scanner, like we can use a scanner, create a new object, enter first number. So let's take int num1 this and int num2 this. Now the sum is, while calling this, I don't want to pass this one. I just want to pass here whatever the num1 and num2. So rather than the values, we can pass the variable name also. That will also work. It's not like that you have to pass values only. No, you can pass these variables. Whatever user will enter, num1, num1 will pass and it will be stored in A. Num2 will be passed and it will store in this B. And this it will do A plus B and return sum. So return here, and whatever the sum it will print directly. So now it will ask you first, then second, and the sum is 3. So this also you can do. Now one more thing, the working of this method. See, if you want to check out the working, then simply we can just add some breakpoints. So let's add some breakpoints here, and while calling, then add return sum and this. Okay, let's just debug this and I'll show you the actual working. At first, the first breakpoint we have put here. So the control will enter here. Okay, according to the program, in the program, the first breakpoint is here, but the entry point is main. So JVM will start from main. After main, the first breakpoint is at this line. So the control or the running of the program is going to stop at this line because we have added a breakpoint. Now step over. Now the next line, enter first number. So whenever you step over, it will ask enter first number. Just one. Again step over. Again step over. It will ask for number 2. So let's enter number like 3 we have entered, right? Press enter. Now step over. Now the next line is this. Num is 1, num 2 is 3. So here num is 1, num 1 is 1, num 2 is 3. Now see the where the control will go. The control is here right now. Whenever you step over, the control will go to the where is the definition of this function. Here is the definition. So let's just step over and see. The control is here because the breakpoint is here. So control will go here, right? Now it has created already a is equal to 1 and b is equal to c, the 3. So value has been taken. There are two local variables, a and b. So whatever in the num1, that would be passed to a. Whatever is num2, that would be passed to b. Fine. Let's just step over and now return sum. So it has done the addition a plus b and now the control is here. See, sum is 4. Sum is 4 as you can see. Now see the control, where the control will go after this return statement. To the caller, and caller is this. Here we are calling. So if I step over, see the control is again back to this line. This is because the blue highlighted. So now if you step over, then only it will print control is out and it is going to print sum is 4. Step over and just finished, disconnected from the targeted VM and that's it. So I hope now you know the working of using methods, how the control is going to pass when you call them, where the control will go, then after the return statement, where the control will go back. Okay, and in case of void, if the method is suppose void, so once, if suppose this is void, so once the control will find out the closing bracket, then it should indicate that now you have to return to the caller. So it will then return to the caller. And if you use return statement, then after finding the return statement, it will simply go to the caller, right? One thing, if after return statement, if you write something, suppose I write here, hi, this will give you error. Unreachable statement. Unreachable statement. Because after control, this is fixed that the control will go directly to the caller. So whatever statement you will write within that same block, here, this will definitely be unreachable statement. So this will give you error. You cannot write down anything after this, after return statement, right? Now few more points I just want to make clear that, let's just delete this. Okay, so before discussing those important points, let me discuss one more types of function, that is, we have discussed three categories. The next one is with return type, sorry, with argument and without return type, this thing. So let's just copy paste this only here and comment out this thing, comment out this category. So we have a method without return type, means it shouldn't return anything, so it should be void. With argument, okay, the parameter is there, parameter list would be there. Now see, it is void, so it will give you error. Cannot return a value from a method with void result type. So we cannot use a return statement in void. You can simply use this return because it is simple return, it is not going to return a value, right? So this will not give you error, that is fine, right? So we are not returning anything, so we are printing here the sum is whatever the sum is and simply return. Okay, but unnecessarily you are writing here return, there is no need to write here return. Now the sum is here, see now the error in this line. This plus operator cannot be applied to java.lang.string and void. So this is string, we know, and we are concatenating with this, whatever the value is there, but this is void. it will not return any value. So what? It will concatenate to the string. That is why it is giving you error. Fine. So you cannot use this thing, a void type of method in system.out.println. This, if you call this will give you error because it is not returning any value. Right? Simply you can call this method addition while passing your two parameters num1 and num2. Okay. Let's run this and see. So four types of categories we have already discussed with these. So 1 and 2. So it will give you 3. One more thing I want to tell you is, suppose now the four categories are clear to you, I guess. If I write here double, let's make the data type to double and this also double. So obviously double and double, it is the provided is double and required is int, because the sum is int. You will do a plus b double plus double, it will give you double. So double is large, int is short, then double, so it will give you error, right? So to make it, you have to make it work, you have to write down here double. This will work. Now one more thing, let's run this, or let's just comment out these things and we simply pass here in addition 1 comma 2. What do you think, it will give error or not? We are passing int values here. It is expecting that we will pass double values, but it will not give any error. Why so? Because one, this int is smaller, double is larger, so it will automatically promote to double here and the output would be in double, like to 3.0. So let me run this and I'll show you. So I'm not saying that these data types should be completely as it is same, like you are passing, if you are taking here double, you should pass here double, otherwise it will give you error. No, but these things should be compatible. Automatically promote, that is possible, but it cannot typecast automatically. Suppose one thing, let me just show you. Here I am taking int, right? One is int, one is double. That is also allowed. Different type of parameters we can also take, right? So here I am passing 1.3 float. Oh, sorry, 1.3 is double. So let's make it float, or double also you can pass. Now see the error here. Provided is float, but required is int, because the order should match. This A value will go to this A, or the second value will go to this B. See, this A and B are already there here, but this is this IntelliJ or IDE type of thing only. I'm not writing here myself. So you cannot write here B colon and this. No, it will give you error. It is automatically generated by the IntelliJ idea. So I'm not writing here. You can simply pass the values just to give you a more understanding that this value will go to A, this value will go to B. So the A value is of type int and you are passing float. Float is a larger, right, range. Int is smaller, so we cannot, it will not automatically typecast this. If you are passing float here, we can typecast. One way is how to typecast. Just write down here float in bracket. And sorry, it's float, so you have to typecast this, not float. You have to typecast this as int. My bad. Int. Now int means it will consider this as 1, it will consider this as 2. So let me run this and I'll show you what output you will get here. See 3.0. Why 3.0? Because double, I'm taking sum as double. That's why 3.0. So it will pass here 1 and it will pass here 2.0 because it is double. 2.0 and this is double, so it will give you 3.0. Right? If you run this and see, if you debug this, then you will get it better. See, control is here because in main we are directly calling this. Fine. So on the console there is nothing. If you step over, now see, here A value is 1 and B value is 2.0 and we are passing 1.3. but we have typecasted this to int. That's why a value is 1 here. A value is 1. In B, what value it will get? We are passing int, but it is double, so it will automatically promote this. That is possible. So 2.0. And just do this, and it will give you on the console sum is 3.0. Right? So I hope you got this. So this type should be compatible. This thing you need to take care. One more thing I want to tell you is here if I pass only 1, like 1.3, or let's make it float. See the error. Here also it will give you error because it is expecting two parameters and you are passing only one as an argument. Only one. That's why it will give you error. Right? So you can see here expected two arguments but found one. So you have to take care of the number of parameters also. So this should match the order, the type, and the number of parameters. This thing you need to take care when we are dealing with methods. One more thing about this return type and this. So there is no return type. So let's just comment out this method and we will see this thing with this because it is returning something. So let's just uncomment this code. Right. Now let's just comment out this and let's uncomment this because it is returning. We're passing num1, num2. So let's take num1 and num2 also from the user. So it is returning. That's why we are calling it into system.out.println. Now one more thing. It is returning int. It is expecting that it will return int. But if you take this thing, here I take double. So int a and int b and double sum is double. Cannot find local variable sum. Let's suppose here also we take the data type of these parameters also make it double. So whatever you pass int or int, don't worry, it will not give any error. It will automatically promote to double sum a plus b. See now the error here. It's just a red line here, and when you hover this cursor here, then it will show you provided is double, but required type is int. Provided is double because sum is double here, but required is int. It can only return int. So that's why it will give you error. But what if I make this different? Let's make this double. It will return double, so right now it will not give any error. Fine. Let's make the sum int. Pause the video and tell me what output you will get here. It will give you error first because a and b are double, sum is int, so a and b double plus double, the output would be double. So double to int is not possible. Int to double is possible, that promotion by default. But you can typecast this, you can convert this into int a plus b. So double a plus double b, it will give you double, it will typecast. We are typecasting this into int, so sum is int. And now we are returning int. See, we are returning here int value, but the return type is double. But right now we are not getting any error. Let me show you what output you will get here. Let's just enter one first, second, and the sum is 3.0. Although it is returning int, that is 3, but it is returning a double value. So it will automatically promote this 3 to 3.0 to double, and it will print here 3.0. So although this type is this return type and this type of the value is not matching, it is not double and double, but these are compatible. So it should not be like exactly matching, but it should be, we can say more precisely, it should be compatible. Right? Because you have to take care of this thing. Automatically promotion is possible from small data type to larger data type, but that demotion is not possible. That thing is not allowed. So if you here write int, here double you are returning, that will give error. That thing I show you. So these are a few points you need to take care while dealing with methods. Now return is also clear. Here you will write some value if you want to return something. Otherwise, simply return also you can do. Now one more thing I want to tell you. There is no like in this case. In this case, this is returning nothing, but simply we write return. We can write return, but it's of no use. Now why this return is there? because return statement, basically if I say, then we can say that about return statement, what we can say one line is, it is used to exit a method and optionally send a value back to the method's caller. So basically exit the method and optionally send a value back to the method's caller. It's not compulsory that it will always return some value. We can simply use return, like here we are returning. So it is not returning anything. It will simply exit a method. That's it. But when we use this return, what is the use of this return? If it not returning anything, then why this return is? So there are some applications of this return also, right? This return statement. And that is basically like a jump statement. So it is used in, we know this type of return is used in void types, void type methods, because it will not return anything. Now, it will use in the case when you want to exit early. Let's suppose, let's discuss this thing with example. Let me show you this one example. Let's comment out everything here. And in main, we are not calling anything, right? And in within this class only, within this class only, let's define a method which will, in which we are want to find out the square root of a number. So to find square root, I have told you there is a method in that class math. So we can simply use math dot square root, and whatever number you will pass, it will give you the square root. But it is not possible to find out square root of a negative number. So if the number is negative, then it will simply return, means this is a invalid input. Simply return, exit, otherwise it will give you like square root. So if you want to early exit from a method based on some condition, then we can use return. For early exit for the break, we can use break also, but that thing we can use only in the loops or switch. We cannot simply use within this if. That will give error. But within this if, we can use return, simple if. There is no required of loop or switch or anything else. Simply in method, you can use this if and then return. But method is important. This if statement should be within a method. Otherwise, this return also will give you error. In simple if, we cannot use return if there is no method. If this if is not enclosed within a method, then this return statement, if you write, then it will give you error. So let's just do this thing. So we are going to use return only. So means it will not return anything. So let's just take the data type, return type is void only. So the name I'm taking, find square root and int, a parameter, a number we are going to pass, right? So let's take it. If whatever the num you pass is less than 0, then simply we can do a return, right? And here we can simply find out the square root. How we can call this? We have a math class. See, there are so many methods in this class. You can use any of this, but right now we need square root. So he just passed like 25, suppose. Just the number, right? So this is simply the definition, but here you have to make it static to call it without object. And in the main, we can simply call this find square root, right? Okay. Here you need to find out the square root of a, not 25, we are passing num. Because whatever you pass, that square root of that thing we want to find out. So let's pass here 25. While calling, pass the value, square root. Okay, fine. If I run this, then what it will give you? It will give you square root of 25, that is 5.0. Why 5.0? Because it will give you double. And let's make it negative number, negative 25. It will not print anything. See, there is no output because this condition is true. Now it will simply return. Now return means where the caller is. Here is the caller. So that's it. There is nothing to print. And if you want to print something in this if also, you can print like cannot find square root of a negative number, so exiting. Simple. So let's run this. Now it will print this line, right? Now one thing, see, you don't need to put here else if you put return here. One more thing you can do, if this is this, you can print this thing. In else part, you can simply print this line. But here I don't want to use else or anything else. Using return also, we can simply exit or break. If this condition is true, then this would be executed. And I have told you, after that, control will go directly, whatever statements are written after this if. So directly control will go here, should go here if you don't use here return. If you do not use here return, then see the output. It will print that line. Also, it will give you this kind of output like NaN, not a number. So you cannot find out square root of number. So that's why it is giving you some undefined result like not a number kind of thing. But I don't want that. If a number is negative, I don't want to print, I don't want to execute this line. So either you can put here if else, in else block you can put this line, or if you don't want to use else, yeah, we have one more option also. You can simply use return. It will not return anything, but this return will simply exit. Now let me show you first here. Just comment out this and let's see the working. Let's see the working of this. Let's just debug this. This is the best idea to see the working of your program. Just add some breakpoints and start debugging. So at first the control is here in the main function num minus 25. Let's just step over. Now control is here. Num is minus 25, right? This condition is true. Let's step over. The control is at this line. So on console now, if you step over, now see the control, where the control will go. If you step over, this line would be printed, and now the control is whatever the statement is written just after this if block. The control is here. But I don't want to execute this statement if the number is negative. And it will print NaN and then just exit. In that case, we can simply make it this return. And now let's just debug this. And now you will see the difference in the working. Right now, at first control is here only. Let's just step over. Condition is true. Step over. Add the statement. Means step over. Now the control is at return. It is not being executed. It is still at return. When you step over, then the statement would be executed. Means it will show that the control is here only. So this statement would be executed now. See the output. This has been printed. Now see the control is directly out. Control will not go to this statement because return means back to the caller. Back to the caller. Now we are done with this, and after this we have this thing. So here, the control is here. Just step over and that's it. So if you want to early exit based on some condition, then we can use simple return. In many programs, we will use return. Don't worry. We will see many examples also. Like in factorial in the program also we'll see this thing. Or if you want to find out like a number is prime or not, there also you can use this return. So you try out for this. Just find out the number is prime or not using methods, and there you have to use this return statement also. This simple return that will not going to return anything. Okay, that is for your assignment. So basically we can say this return without returning any value is useful for controlling the flow of execution in some cases where you want to stop further processing under certain condition. Here I don't want to process this line if this condition is met, so simply return. So it is going to like call as early exit, like while dividing two numbers, if the number 2, like num1 by num2, something like this, if we divide num1 divided by num2, if this number 2 is 0, then early exit, otherwise perform this action, so num1 by num2. So you can try out this also. While dividing two numbers, you just take two number, just put one condition, if num2 is equal to 0, then simply put some statement here exiting or something like this and simply return. And here you can simply do like num1 by num2, the formula you can apply, and that's it, and just print that thing. So I hope that is not that much tough. You can try this out. Okay. And While we are using return in non-void method, I have already shown you, because this method is, see, returning something. So here we are using return, this kind of thing. Now we can use multiple return as well. In the same method, we can use multiple return statement. Based on some condition, it will return many values. That is also possible. It's not like that in one method you can only use return only one time. No, you can use two, three, four times based on some conditions. So that thing, let me show you with the help of one example. Let's just make a, or here, not here. Let's just exit from here, all the breakpoints, and comment out all the code. We have commented out everything, all the code here. Let's just comment out this also. We have just main and then class. So within this class, let's have a method greet. So we have a method which will return this time now string, and greet message. Let's name it greet message, and I don't want to pass anything. Now let's take here boolean, any variable name like is morning is equal to, let's take a value true. Based on this condition, we return something. If this is true, is morning, this is true, then it should return, like it should say return good morning. Else it should return something else, like maybe Hare Krishna. So there are two return statement in the same method, but based on some condition. These are in conditional blocks. Means either this will execute or this will execute. You have to take care of this thing. It cannot be a case that both the statements would execute. Only one statement, return statement, should execute in that method. So you have to put in some conditions in these statements. You have to put these condition return statement in some conditions. So in main, if you simply just print here greet message. So pause the video and think what output you will get here. I'm simply passing greet message. So control will go here. One variable is there, boolean is morning, it true. So this condition is true. Okay, this is true, this is true. So it will print. It will return good morning. It is returning a string. See, in this case, it is returning a string, and string is in like reference type object. So we can use return type as a primitive or these kind of thing also. String is not a primitive type here. Okay, let's just run this and see, it will print good morning. And if I simply make this condition not is good morning, it's logical not. So it will print now. It will return now. This method will return Hare Krishna. So it will print Hare Krishna, right? If directly you don't want to call this here, so you can simply take a variable, but that variable should be of type string, string, and we can take a variable result is equal to, and there we can call this method. And rather than printing this, we can simply here print result. This S should be capital, right? This will also give you the same result. It will simply print Hare Krishna. So whatever variable you take here, that should also be compatible with the return type. It is returning string, so you should take here string. If it will return int here, so this should be int. If it can be float or double or long, because it should return int, it is larger, so it can convert that into larger type in that case. So this should be like compatible. That rule will also apply here. If you take a variable while having the value, whatever this method will return. So these types should be compatible, right? Automatic promotion is allowed, that thing you need to take care, but demotion is not allowed. In that case, you have to typecast. Okay, so multiple returns I have shown you. Those multiple returns are also possible based on some conditions. So like this, the return type of this method can be like void or primitive, or arrays can also be there, the return type, or class or interface or string. But these arrays, classes, interface type we will discuss later when we will see these methods. So here I have shown you how you can use void here, string here, and primitive type like int or boolean is also allowed. That thing I'll show you with the help of one exercise. Don't worry. Now, what if you write within this main directly if? I'm not writing if in any method. I'm writing here main directly within this if I'm and I want to use like any variable. Let's take int a is equal to 3, and if a less than equal to 3, then simply return. I'm using this return statement here, and here I'm just printing a is greater than 3. See, this return statement I'm using within this if, there is no like specific method, something like this. What do you think? It will give error, or can we use this? Because if you simply and if you write here break or continue, that will give you error. But this thing will not give you error. Why so? Because main is also a method, na? I told you main is also a method. This is although special method, but still it is a method, na? So I'm using this within main method. So it return means now the control will pass where in this program? Nowhere. It is entry point. So if it find return here, so it means simply exit from the program. So it will not print anything because the condition is true. A is 3. So it will simply return means nothing would be printed. And if I make this like suppose 4, then it will print like a is greater than 3. A is greater than 3. So yeah, you can use a simple if return statement because this main is already a we can say method. But without main, without in this class, if I just copy paste this code, control C, and here, there is no method. There is no method. I'm simply writing here something like this. So return outside method. Now it is not allowed. Return should be inside a method. That is for sure. Either a user defined method or within this main method, right? So I hope this thing is clear to you. Return should be in a method. Okay, now one more thing. I've told you that between the return type and the this method name, there cannot be anything. If you think that rather than writing string here, let's write here string. String, then static, then greet message. No, this is not allowed. Modify static is not allowed here. Or if you do not put here the return type, simply a method. Invalid method declaration, return type is required. I think in C and C++ it is allowed because by default it will take int if you do not put any you can say that return type. Then I guess, I'm not sure, but in Java it is definitely not allowed. You have to put a return type, otherwise it will give you error. So it is static now. So now this is definition. Definition means you are defining the method here, and this kind of thing is calling. One more thing is method declaration. In C and C++, you have heard about this thing, method declaration. So method declaration is simply the return type. I show you. So we have simply return type. Suppose we have return type void. The name of the method, name suppose we have like sum. Then here the parameter, if there is any parameter. Suppose parameter nothing here, nothing. I don't want to pass any parameter and just semicolon. So this is method declaration. There is no body. This is like the body of this method. So there is no body of the method. Simply this thing is what? Declaration. We are not defining this. But in Java, it's not allowed. Yeah, you can use simple this declaration when you are dealing with interfaces and abstract classes. These are basically abstract methods. But we will see that thing when we will discuss interfaces and abstract classes. There we can use this thing, but simply here we cannot use this thing. In C and C++, it is allowed. You can simply here declare the method. It will simply show you the return type. It will tell the compiler the return type, name, and the parameters type. Like if I want to pass some parameter, two parameters, so you can simply write int comma int. In declaration, it is optional to write down the variable name, but in definition you have to write down. If it is a definition, and there is a semicolon in declaration. But in definition, you have to write down here the name, sorry, the variable's name. There is no semicolon, and then the body of the method is there. So in Java, simple declaration is not allowed. It is allowed in case of abstract classes and interfaces. Right. There, some other class will implement this thing. So then we can put here simple the abstract method. Okay. That thing we'll see later. If you use this thing here, then it will give you error. Suppose before defining this method, I just want to declare this method greet message and semicolon. See, it will give you error. Let's just for now comment out this method as well. So let's comment out this. See, you get the error. Missing method body or declare abstract. Either you have to define this, you have to give the method body, or you can just declare it abstract. But we cannot simply declare it abstract, because we can declare abstract method within a abstract class only, and that is a different concept that we will see later. So this type of declaration is not allowed here. In C and C++ it is allowed, right? So that is one more point I just want to clear. And one more thing, it's not like that you just define the method here and you can simply call the method within the main only. No, one method can call another method. Let me show you this thing also with example. So having a method what? Sum to find out, and we also have a method to find out average of those numbers. So let's just uncomment this method. It will return the addition of two numbers, and we have one more method. So to make it static and same, like suppose return type is double average. I want to find out average, and here I just want to pass like two numbers. So we can take same variable name a and b, because these variables are having local scope within this method only. We cannot use this a and b outside of this. So we can declare again the same variable name, that is fine. Now here I want to call this double, sorry, the sum. So double, and suppose here I'm taking a variable c is equal to, I'm calling the method addition, and what I'm passing here a comma b, right? And it will return now whatever the c divide by 2, because average would be there two numbers, so average would be addition of these two divided by 2. It will return this thing. And simply in main, let's just in main let's just comment out this also, because we do not need this thing. So let's use this, just cut this from here and use this here near main. So in class we have two method, addition, average. In average I'm calling addition, so one method is calling another method, that is also allowed. And in main I will simply call this average, or let's call both the methods. Let's call this addition, and here simply pass 2.2, or simply pass like 1 comma 4 in time passing, and that is average. So simply call here average. In average I'm passing 2 comma 3, right? So let's run this. What do you think, what output you will get here? You pause the video and you can just think about this. First is 5.0, so control would be in here first main, so addition would be called 1 and 4 would be passed. A is 1, B is 4, so 1 plus 4, that would be like if there is double, so if you pass here double like 1.7 and 4 point something 4.9, so those would be converted, the result would be converted into int only. So if you add these two numbers, what would be the output? 4.9 plus 1.7, I think it's 6.6, and that would be converted into int, typecasted into int, so that will give you only 6. So it will return 6. Here it is returning 5, so let me just run this again. for this. So first output you should get 6 if you are correct. So yeah, it is returning 6.0. Okay, fine. Because 6.0 is because the return type is double. So here sum would be 6. When it will return 6, it will be promoted to double, that is 6.0. Now, again for this average, average would be called now in A and B, 2 and 3 would be passed, 2 and 3. So control will enter here, 2 and 3. Now again addition would be called for next input, that is 2 and 3. 2 and 3. 2 and 3 is 5. 5 would be returned from here, 5.0. 5.0 in this C. 5.0 divided by 2, that is 2.5. So it will give you 2.5. So method we can use, this method we can use in this method only. We can reuse this. Otherwise, you have to again, if you want to find out average of these two different numbers, so you have to write down the logic here. First addition of two number, then average, find out average, and that's it. Okay. But here we can simply reusing this code. And like this, if there are some more method, there also we can call this addition method. And even we can call these methods in a different project as well. But for that, these methods should be public so that anybody can access this. Okay. So that's why we make those methods in libraries. Generally, they make those methods public because you are using those libraries, those methods into your programs. Okay. Now, one more thing I want to tell you. See, this was a method. I just want to show you something. Square root. So, if you do not use this math dot, in that case, see, cannot resolve symbol sqrt in method demo. It is in the, you have to, otherwise, one more thing is you can import this static method java.lang.math.square root and then you can use directly. If you want to use this without importing that method, then you have to use the class name and square root. So if you press control and go to this, click on math. So this is math class, and in math, see, we are having, this is a math class, right? In math class, we are having many variables. And if you press control and go to square root, click on this, the, this is a static method. It will return double. Return type is double and it will accept a double argument. It is a static, that's why we can access this with directly the class name dot method name. You don't need to create any object. If you want to check out, you can go for this. We can say that is implementation is return strict math dot square root. Now, what is the strict math? You just press control, click here. Now here we have this class strict math. So this is like deep kind of thing. We don't want to go into that much deep, right? Because this has already been written by the makers of Java. So we have to use this directly. But you want to check, if you are interested, you can go and check out this. Okay, one more thing I want to tell you, that is there is one more term, that is method signature. Method signature is basically a unique identifier for a method, and it includes the method name and the parameter, the type of the parameter, that's it. Method signature does not include the return type or the access specifier, anything else, just the name and the number of parameters and the type of the parameter. So if this is the method, then the signature, if you write for this method, is point square root and int, that's it. This is the method signature. That's the name and the type. One argument is there, one parameter is there, and the type is int. Type is int. No need to write down here the variable name. So this is basically method signature, and this is used to uniquely identify and differentiate the methods. It is basically used when we use overloading of methods. There is a concept overloading that we will see also. Don't worry, in the next class. Overloading means the same method we are taking the same name 3, 4, 5 times or multiple times. We can define that method with the same name, but the number of parameters are different, like sum of two numbers, sum of three numbers, sum of five numbers, as well as sum of two integer and sum of two double, sum of one int and one double. So name of all these methods can be some, that is same name, but these are going to be differentiated with the help of number of parameters and type of parameters, and this is basically known as overloading of the method. Don't worry, we'll see this thing in detail, but for now you just have to take care of this thing. You just have to remember this thing. What is method signature? That thing I hope you got. It is basically a unique identifier for a method, and it includes the method name and the parameter list. That's it. It will not include return type or the access specifier. Okay. So I hope now definition of methods is clear to you, and to somewhat modularity and organization is also clear. Modularity means we are dividing the program into smaller and manageable parts or the modules. Like if there is a program, suppose you want to find out write a program for simple calculator. So some for addition, subtraction, and division and multiplication, and for that there are, if we write different methods, like for addition we just write down a method add, then a method sub, then for multiplication a multiplication method, then division, then more type of a method. Five methods are there. So like this, rather than writing the complete code within the main method only, that would be not readable. Just make different methods, and for addition write down the code here, for subtraction in this method, for multiplication in this method, like this. So like program would be more, it's like we have divided the program in modules, and it would be more organized, right? Like in your almirah you have your clothes, there are so many shelf also. There is one big one, or you can for those hanging clothes, then there is a small one, maybe the one is for some locker, that is very small. One is to keep your shoes, that is a different shelf. So there are different parts or shelf. If there is a big almirah, that's it, there is no compartment or no shelf, you have to put everything there, your clothes, your hanging clothes, or like your you can say that jewelry or small items, or your shoes and everything. So definitely that is a messy one, that is not organized one. So if you write everything in the main program, right now we are dealing with small code, small programs, but you have to deal with large projects also. So you have to keep that project more manageable, more organized, for more structured. So for that we use methods. We just divide that in a methods or modules, that would be more manageable. The code would be more organized, more readable, right? And the code would be like easy to debug and test. When you want to debug, then you can easily find out that okay, in this part or in this method we have some error, so you can easily fix that thing. So that's why I have written there methods, the building block for writing efficient code. If you want to write an efficient code, then methods are compulsory. Those are basic building blocks, right? Encapsulation, we will see like it's kind of data hiding. Using methods, we can achieve encapsulation also, and we can hide the data also. But that thing we will see when we'll discuss object-oriented programming concept. Don't worry, right? So these things we have already discussed. Why we need methods. Abstraction also we will see later to achieve the abstraction, or for that also if you want to hide the implementation detail, you can use methods. Modularity we have discussed. Code reusability, we are again and again reusing the code. So that is one beauty or advantage of using methods, to reduce the redundancy, to reduce the duplicacy of the code. Okay, to make our program more organized, and to improve the collaboration as well. Suppose in a project there is a team. So if there are, in simple calculator program there are five methods, so I can assign to five members. Like you do coding for add method, you do coding for subtract, you do coding for like multiplication, and like this. So that's why it is going to improve the collaboration, and it will reduce the time as well. Like there are add and five team members. So there are five team members. So add method will be implemented by this, subtract will be this, and they are like this. I have divided the task. Rather than one member will write down everything in main, if there are modules, then we can simply divide the task into team, and it will improve the collaboration as well as it will reduce the time also. That is one more advantage of using methods, right? Now these are simple examples. this thing we have discussed, how to we can achieve code reusability with methods. This thing we have seen already. We were using those sum methods in average method also, in addition method in average. We were reusing that, right? Now this is the syntax, public, static, and then return type, and then the method name, and then the parameter list. This thing we have seen many times. Okay, return types in Java. Return type I've shown you. Primitive type can also be there. The return type of that method, like int, boolean. I'll show you, or double, float. Void can also be there. Reference type can also be there. Like string, I have shown you, but arrays we haven't discussed, so we'll see that thing also later. Multiple values, like using arrays. If the return type is array means collection of many elements, same type of elements. So many elements also a function can return using arrays. That thing also we'll see when we will discuss array. This is simply return statement. Simple return. So to early exit, we use return statement. That thing I have shown you with the help of an example, right? Or you can specify some value also. In void also we have used we have seen how to use this return statement. It will return no value. To early exit, we use this. Okay. Now, if you want to return some value in a method, that also we can do. Primitive type value it can return. Objects also it can return, or arrays also it can return. So primitive type, how it will return, that thing I have shown you. Object reference to complex data structure. It can also return a string. That also I have shown you. When it was returning, return good morning, return Hare Krishna. So that was nothing but a string. Okay, so it was returning basically object. String is not a primitive data type. That was basically an object. Arrays we will see later when we'll discuss later. Method signature I also told you. It's just the method name and the parameter list. Okay. Benefits we have discussed: reusability, code organization, then it will be like easier debugging and testing. Readability of the code would be increased, as well as the collaboration, improve the collaboration also. So these are few advantages of using methods. Now, these are some examples or exercises for you. Temperature converter. You have to write down a method which will convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. This you need to do. So just read out this. We have discussed many things. So you have to, these are coding exercise for you. Or a greeting method. Just write down a method greet. It will take input as a name like Jenny. So it will say like, hi Jenny. And this is one challenge for you. You have to add a different parameter for the time of the day. Means it will accept now two parameter. One is name, second is the time of the day, like morning. I will input Jenny as well as morning. So it will say, hi Jenny, good morning. If I enter Jenny and afternoon, so it will say, hi Jenny, good afternoon or good evening, something like this. Right? Simple calculator. Just make 4 or 5 methods: add, subtract, multiplication, division, or modulo, and do your simple calculator kind of thing using methods. Okay. Even or odd. If a number is even or odd, but that thing you have to find out with help of methods now. With help of method. Fine. Okay, now that's it about basic method. What are methods? Why we use methods? What are some advantages of using methods? Now let me show you some coding exercises and we will see that thing. Right? And in the next lecture, we'll see static and instance methods, type of method. Static can also be there. Like static we have discussed now, but there is instance method as well. There is not much difference. Small difference is there. That thing I'll show you in next lecture. Okay, so that's it about introduction to methods. I hope it is clear to you what are methods, why we need methods, and simple how to use a method, the internal working of method and all. So in the next lecture, we will see some coding exercises on methods, right? So now I'll see you in the next lecture. Till then, bye. Take care.